Welcome to Bears Banter Week 2. Chicago versus the Detroit Lions. Ben Johnson is going back home. Let's see if we can get a win. Both teams 0-1. We on the road. Somebody got to come out with a win. Bears Banner Season 6, Week 2. Let's go.
Let's go.
Man, Bernard, that's some cool music that I'm
Yeah,
listening.
You like
that? yeah. I'm over here like,
Yeah, that was up to something I was experimenting with about maybe a year ago. I was experimenting on my phone, putting some beats together. So when I was looking for this season, I was about to put go back to the original season. I said, hold on, I got some more beats on here. Let me try this one.
yeah, that's nice. I like that.
Luke Sky getting on here and putting a rap down on there.
Yeah. Waiting on Luke Scott to write something. I told him, I said, hey, Uncle Plank said you need to write us some theme music.
This is what he does, man. What?
Right. Let's get it.
Oh. Man, this been a tough week after that loss. A couple of teams experienced the same thing that the Bears did. Actually, the Jets experienced the same thing where they blew a game as well that they had the lead in. And I'm trying to think it was a couple of more teams that did the same thing that blew a lead. Baltimore sure did. They blew that lead to Buffalo. So the thing about that is, there's a lot of scrutiny when you're a first-time head coach and you have a quarterback that's kind of maligned. Everything he does is being judged. So they got to make those adjustments this week for this game. And you're playing a team that you took their offensive coordinator.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I don't know if there's a such thing as a must win in the second week of the season.
Right.
Everybody, Chicago is definitely a sports town, so we going crazy because we were winning and all of that stuff, and we lost. But I'd like us to have a little bit more patience with the new regime, with the new system that's been input, new offensive, defensive coordinator, all across the board. So it may take a little bit of time. That said, that was definitely a tough loss to take. What do you think about that, Jay?
Well, it is going to take some time, and a lot of people, they came into the season thinking like we got Ben Johnson, so everything is going to be right. And that's just not necessarily the case. Like I said, this is Caleb's second year. He went through 2 offensive coordinators and 2 head coaches last year. And, now he had to learn a new system, new verbiage, new players. We got, Loveland, Burton, and the offensive line when you got Dahlman and Jackson and Tooney. So, it's going to take some time. We as Bears fans, unfortunately, we always say it's going to take some time. But at the same time, if you're realistic, it's going to take time. It's not going to be an overnight success. And with this week coming up, we had 12 penalties for 127 yards last week, and we was at home. So you can imagine what it's going to look like on the road. Detroit's home opener, and they lost last week. So each one of these teams got something to prove, and it's just going to be it's going to be one of them games. And we'll talk about predictions and all that stuff later in the show. But this is going to take some time. And a lot of people that's just, and I understand. Trust me, as a season ticket holder, I understand because we left last week in agony. We was like, oh my God, so for us to be able to, as they say, extend some grace, it is what it is, man. It is what it is.
Hey, Jay, I'm sorry, Plank, go ahead.
No, relative to Caleb Williams, I've heard a couple different articles and saw some videos on YouTube that said that the problem with him is his footwork. Okay, that's what a lot of them said. But then I heard one from Kurt Warner who had a second take. He said it's not his footwork that's the problem, it's his eyes. Because what Caleb Williams has been trying to do is look off people, look off a linebacker, look off the safety. And by the time he returns his eyes to that first or second read, he's discombobulated. So he's trying to rush the throw. And I said, wow, that makes a lot of sense. Either way, this is somebody that's not used to doing whatever this process is. and he's trying to get acclimated. So I think it's going to take a little bit of time to do that.
Yeah,
And I
Frank, those
just
are
think,
great assessments. Oh, I'm sorry, Jay. Yeah, I think that's great assessments. It's probably a combination of all that, right? And I do think some of it with young quarterbacks, the games have to slow down for them, right? And Caleb actually has been a guy that actually has been successful in college with bad footwork. So that's it's kind of like what was the sprinter? Ironic, I think it was Ben Johnson, the sprinter. What's his name? Ben Johnson, the guy used to run straight up. Okay, ironic was Ben Johnson. Basically, you would tell somebody never run like that. That would not work. You would not be fast running straight up and down. But for him, it worked. For Caleb, it worked with him having like these off-platform throws, off balance, 1 feet in the air, 1 foot in the air, a leg in the air, running to his left, right. Most quarterbacks cannot make throws like that and be accurate. So I think one of the things Ben is going to have to do is, one, do what he said initially. He's tailoring his offense around his quarterback. He actually seemed to get stubborn in camp. He started saying, you don't need bands. Maybe your quarterback do need a wristband, right? If there's some reports that he might have called a play wrong, then maybe you need to pull that back and let him run wristband. And maybe you do more rollout plays where he can use that until he develop into more of a pocket passer, but there's nothing wrong with rolling them out and making some plays that way without him just being forced out the pocket and he throws those throws.
Yeah, and I just think, I just think with Caleb, those 68 sacks last year, that hurt him. And even in the second half, I saw how his feet just got happy, as you were saying, Keith, playing. It was one of them things where now, and if you just wait just that half a second, you can make that throw. So it's a lot of stuff again, like I said last week. He has to learn, he has to unlearn and learn, how to play within the structure of the offense. And it's gonna take some time. It's gonna take some time.
But you think about it, at Oklahoma and then USC, he had the same offensive coordinator coach, and the entire offense was, I'm out the shotgun, I'm gonna get the ball out the shotgun, I'm gonna look for my first and second read. If they are open, I'm throwing it. If not, I'm going to scramble around until
and
I
try to make something happen.
So that's very hard to make that transition to, I'm actually going to take snaps from the center, turn my back on the defense, and as soon as I get my feet set, I'm expected to read 1, 2, or 3. That is a tremendous difference in trying to learn. And, this is a muscle memory. He doesn't have any muscle memory built up. His entire career has been, I'm an athlete and I'm going to go out here and out-compete people. I think he can do it. I think he can make it. But again, I think it's going to take a little bit more time than one game.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I think that's the unfair expectation playing that people have put on him. And I know being labeled a generational talent and being number one, who much is given, much is required. So the expectations are probably unrealistic that you play one game under new head coach and then you're just going to be the next comment of whoever Tom Brady or something. Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Bust. Oh, you're a bust.
You're a bust. Correct. That's not how it works. And as much as I know personally, I would have loved to see these first games. I think I set realistic expectations by saying I thought it would be a slow start for the offense. Now, the thing I'm kind of concerned about Ryan Poles as far as building this team is, Jay mentioned something about Detroit, and I said something after the game that was mistakenly pointed out to Darnell Wright, but I actually meant Jonah Jackson, what I was describing. But my point is the Bears interior, I'm going to say one game. It takes a while to offer. Jonah Jackson lacked a lot of discipline in that game. He was not moving his man off the ball much. He got called for penalties. He got called for false starts. He wasn't good in pass protection.
And it wasn't just him. It wasn't just him. Drew Darman was bad.
Yeah.
He was bad. So, like I said, you just spent all this money on your interior. You got a 14 million, and 17 million. And they all look like rookies.
They did.
And that's where you spent the bulk of your money on your offense, because we all said the Bears need to beef up their offensive line, and they did that. And week one, they look bad, against a team where they the Vikings do have a great defensive line. Their defensive line is great, but the way they looked really really bad, and there's no excuse for that. None
Well,
at all.
here's one of those little feather in our caps. Braxton Jones was not the worst offensive lineman.
That's true.
And we've been talking about that the whole year, right? So
Right.
Braxton Jones, and I think this is part of him being next to Thuney that made him look a little bit better. So Thuney was the only one that didn't give up a pressure. So everybody else, you didn't know what they was doing or whatever. It's going to take a little time to get some continuity from an offensive line standpoint. I'm looking forward to this week having Cal Manon guy actually trying to play a little bit more running back and getting some carries, because Swift, I think that guy really doesn't have good vision to be a running back. He's got great speed, but he can't see and pick out where that hole is. So,
Well, I think the thing with Swift is, you got running backs that's down and dirty and get in there in between the tackles. He's not trying to play that game. He's trying to hit everything outside. He's not trying to get caught up where he gonna spin and make a move and then break to the overfield. If he think he see daylight on the outside, that's where he's gonna go. And when you that type of running back, you have to follow your blocking. But if you're not ready to run downhill like that, then it's not going to happen, which is why I think, and I'm hoping that Monangai gets some carries this week, because he is that type of back
He's
that's
that
not
down.
scared. That's not scared to go between the tackles and not bounce it outside every time he feel like that there's no blocking there.
well, he ain't had his welcome to the NFL hit yet, so he ain't really got a good reason to be scared. It takes the first time you run in there and some vet really lay the wood to you to find out who this guy gonna be anyway.
Yeah,
because he had a couple of plays where even when I was watching it, I was like, the hold is right in front of you, and he kind of stalled. NFL hold. Yeah, if you have the greatest block in it, you got some time. If you got one of the best lines, yeah, you got time. Other than that, a hold is like a flash. If you start stalling, that thing closed like the part of the Red Sea, and the Red Sea closed. You don't get there. And I saw this one play where he had a nice hold in front of him. Now he ended up getting some positive yards, but the problem was he got 3 yards where he should have probably had 7 or 8 on that play. And that's the difference sometimes between running downhill. You could be a guy that make guys miss and run downhill initially
at the same time. Yep.
At the same time, but if you start stalling and all that, you don't have that much time. And I was looking at him, like Plank said, sometimes I question his vision. Like it's like he's running. It's almost like he's just running to what he think is daylight versus reading your blocks, right? You should be running to where the play is designed, unless it's just not nothing. But sometimes running to where it's designed, even if you have to slow up, may yield you better results versus it's automatically that's cut it. Run to where it's supposed to go and ride it out as long as it can, even if you're holding your linemen back for a second,
But now you're sounding more and more like Eric Bieniemy, man. So that's all good. So what do you think about Detroit? We're coming up against Detroit. We can see our old buddy Montgomery and Gibbs, and we effectively seeing Ben Johnson's offense trying to beat Ben Johnson. How do y'all see that playing out?
Well, as I watched Detroit last week, and I teased y'all on the post game last week when y'all said, "Man, what happened to Detroit's offense?" I'm like, "It's a hell of off."
That's a lot of truth.
It's a lot of truth. But their offense didn't look well. And one of my buddies who I work with, he's a Green Bay fan, and I told him I told him Monday, or I told him when I went back to work, I'm like, okay, I don't know if Green Bay is good or if Detroit's offense is just bad. And at this point, we don't know because as we watched Green Bay last night, they kind of put the hammer on Washington, which I'm not surprised because I feel like Washington is going to go through that sophomore slump. But I think um, this game, it's kind of hard to juggle because I still feel like because the Bears are on the road, because the Bears are on the road, and like I said, they committed 12 penalties at home. Being in the Roncas, Detroit, with their fans in their home opener, they coming off a loss. It's going to be very difficult. But I think because Ben Johnson knows that personnel over there, I think it's going to help a little bit. But it's going to be, we get some key players back. We do, Jalen Johnson is slated to, make his opening debut. TJ Edwards is coming back. They say Kyler Gordon is doubtful. So we'll see how that go. But I think the game is gonna be interesting. It's gonna be close. I do think it's gonna be close. I'm not looking for the Lions to. I don't think it's. Put it this way, just like I said last week, I don't think it's gonna be no shootout. I predicted a 19-13 game out last week, I believe, and going into the fourth quarter, I was like, yeah, this is what I'm talking about. So, so we'll see. But I think that Ben Johnson, knowing that personnel in Detroit, is gonna it's gonna kind of play in our favor.
Also,
Yeah,
I think a lot of times if you're going on the road as a team, that allows you, strangely enough, to concentrate more. You don't have to worry about picking up the kids and what your wife told you, and whether or not you called the guy to wash the car. Only thing you got to worry about is playing this game. The Bears are already at a deficit because they're not at home. A lot of times, going on the road is exactly what the doctor ordered for a new football team that really hasn't established an identity that much. So,
And the Bears actually played pretty well in Detroit
yeah,
because
mhm.
yeah.
they actually played pretty well in Detroit. So um, it's gonna be interesting to see how this all shake out. Aiden Hutchinson is back. He was kind of shaking off the cobwebs last week against Green Bay. He didn't do nothing spectacular, but Detroit's secondary played really well against Green Bay. So but I still feel because Ben Johnson knows that personnel over there, although he's not there no more, he knows their tendencies. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, they was kind of they having a little blocking issues at least in the first game. I know I believe they lost their center who had retired.
Ragnar. Yeah.
Ragnar retired, yeah,
He
and
retired
they
pretty late.
and I just heard I was just listening to NFL radio in the car, and they say that their left tackle is doubtful for this game. Detroit's
Okay.
left tackle. I can't call his name. I think he's a rookie or a second year guy, but he's doubtful for this game. So you never want to see nobody hurt, but that's that may work in
Part
our
of the
favor.
game.
And
Yeah.
I look forward to Javon Dexter. I mean, he's really, has come on. He did good last year up until the time of the injury. And so I'm hoping he'll be able to take advantage of that. Now, I think Grady Jarrett is out for the game, I believe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if he's been ruled out yet, but I did hear
Okay.
he hadn't practiced in the last couple of days. So I don't know what that is, but in spite of that, Andrew Billingsley is still available and
Mhm.
healthy now, so that helps.
Yeah.
Strangely enough, last game, Minnesota, the Bears' defensive line was actually a strength. And
Yeah.
most of the dialogue that we've been talking about all off season is where's their defensive line going to be? Man, we need extra edge rushers. We need all of this, and they more than held their own.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did. Dangbo actually played a pretty good game
He did.
last week. Just him coming off the preseason where he didn't play as much, and when he did play, he didn't flash. But last week, he against the Vikings, he actually played pretty well. Montez Sweat still got to step it up. We didn't hear his name until the third quarter.
Stealing money.
I knew you was gonna say that. I knew you was gonna say that. But the defensive line the defense as a whole played pretty well last week until the fourth quarter. And when you're missing three starters, and I'm not making excuses, but it's just the reality of the game. When you're missing three starters and you got guys that's not used to even playing an entire game, let alone when however many plays however many defensive snaps that they played. Those replacements were probably only playing half of those snaps, if
if
a
that much.
fourth of those, if that much.
Yeah.
So it's only so much you can be like, okay, yeah, yeah, we got it, yeah. But then he's like, okay, now I'm tired. I'm not used to playing this many snaps. So we getting some, we get some reinforcements back this week. Jalen Johnson, I'm happy he's gonna be able to play because he's probably going to travel and follow Amara St. Brown. But they got, or I don't know even know if he's going to be on Williamson, James Williamson.
Williamson's a burner.
The thing about it is Detroit got some speed.
They
They
sure
got
do.
some
They
speed.
should.
So with a combined pass rush and good coverage, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, because with Gibbs, you gotta be disciplined with Gibbs, right? That speed he got. The thing you're gonna have with Montgomery is where he's gonna be at. It's just gonna be can you bring him down, right?
Can you
run
bring
it.
him down?
Yeah,
Right.
he's gonna try to truck you. But with Gibbs, you gotta have gap discipline. If you don't, that guy, if he cut back on you or get outside of you because you're not doing your assignment, it's gonna probably take it to the house. So you have to be careful on that. But I'm making sure I got his name right. Adangbo, is that his name?
Mhm.
I thought he had a dominant game. He actually pushed his guy back a lot. He made the quarterback step up a lot, and then even the interior push from Javon Dexter. But what we did miss was Sweat. I am also excited about seeing TJ Edwards in the middle this year.
Yeah.
I'm looking for some positive stuff from him. I mean, he's a workhorse, man, and to have that workhorse in the middle, and I do think, what's his name? What's the other guy name? Tremaine Edmonds.
Man,
I thought he looked better on the outside than he did in the middle. He still missed some tackles, but even some of the tackles he missed on first contact, he recovered and got back to the play, right? Where it was times in the middle where he missed the tackle and he was just out of the play, or he was getting hit and he was kind of getting, the blockers were stuck on him. So I'm kind of excited about that on the defensive side.
You and me both.
Hey, thank everybody for tuning in to Bears Banter tonight. We're live on Facebook, Twitch TV, and YouTube. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so we can get to 800 subscribers. And if you're on Facebook, you better get in on the Facebook group before we close off.
we close it out. Right. We closing it out.
All right.
And, on offense, I think the Bears going to have to be patient. Ben cannot deviate from the run game. Hopefully, I don't know the status of Roshan Johnson. I can't really say. But I don't know why they haven't brought up one of the guys off the practice squad. What's his name?
Yeah.
Brown. His last name is Brown, Brenton Brown, or whatever his name. One of those guys.
Mhm.
To kind of take the load off of Swift, because outside of Swift, he carried every down except DJ Moore. I think DJ Moore had 3 carries.
Yeah.
So you need to have a 1-2 punch some kind of way, and your 2 punch can't be your number one wide receiver coming out the backfield. So I just think Ben said in his press conference that the running game didn't do what he thought it was gonna do, and he's got to be better at calling it. Well, yeah, you got to be better at calling it, but you also have to be able to block it up too.
Yeah.
In the past game, I thought he schemed some guys open. Caleb he just got to do a better job of hitting some guys. Um, that pass in the fourth quarter to DJ Moore where he just airmailed the ball. They came out and said that DJ Moore deviated off his route, and as Caleb was trying to adjust, again, I'm not making excuses, folks. I'm just telling y'all what the coach said. As DJ deviated from the route that he was supposed to run a post, and he broke his post off into a fly, and he overmailed it. But You just got to have some competent blocking in front of him. And like I said, the interior of the offensive line played real bad last week. And when your quarterback is in the pocket with happy feet, with people in the middle coming from him, it makes a difference if they coming from outside. Because once your quarterback in the pocket get happy feet in the middle, it's going to muddle up everything. So they just got to be patient with the run game and stick to the run game. And if they could run the football, the play action pass would be available to them.
Yeah, Jay, I think a lot of people, a lot of people said, receivers and quarterbacks that kind of evaluated that play. They actually was saying that before the press conference happened, where they said DJ might have got off the route. Now, I'm not making an excuse for airmailing it, but he threw his hands up, which is actually, man, I was going so well. But when you kind of look at the play breakdown,
that's one of the best plays. That's one of the best plays. You break it off and be like,
Caleb was actually looking to the left. And I guess what he turned around was he thought he was about to throw it over in the flat. And as he was turning, I guess, the seat in the flat, he realized he had changed the route. So he was trying to adjust, but that's up to Caleb too. He has to slow down and play at the
slow
speed.
down. You
got to slow down because I think he thought he was under pressure. He actually wasn't under pressure on that play.
Not at all. Not
at all. So that's what makes it look so bad, because he wasn't under pressure, but it's from you start seeing ghosts, right? I'm not saying he's seeing ghosts, but he is to a degree, right? Because he's like, I don't want to get sacked, and he felt like somebody should be coming, but actually nobody wasn't coming. So that's one of the things that has to happen. But you got to get the guys to play within the structure until they work on their accuracy. You can't do too much variation when your quarterback is struggling with accuracy. You got to run that route until y'all all get on the same page and he's comfortable, because he is struggling with accuracy right now.
Yeah, I rewatched the game earlier this week, and I couldn't tell if on the original game, I couldn't tell if the difference in the second half was that the offensive line broke down and they weren't able to block and they weren't getting their assignments, or is it that Caleb wasn't doing some of the things that he did well in the first half? First half, for example, he did a good job stepping up into the pocket, which was a welcome change. I saw him. I was like, wow, you're not used to seeing him stepping up in the pocket in order to throw the ball. Instead, he's generally stepping up in order to start running. So it was good seeing him do that. So it's hard to determine, with penalties in the offensive line and everything else that didn't go well. It's enough blame to go around, and it's hard to pinpoint who should be to blame for most of that service. So.
Well, again, I still think, I still put a lot of the blame on Ben Johnson, because he got out coached.
Yeah.
Just like I said in the post game, what happened was he anticipated Brian Flores bringing all these exotic blitzes, and Caleb was comfortable in the pocket in the first quarter because he had extra protection.
Mm-hmm.
And Ben was the adjustment that he thought he was making, like, oh, they're not bringing no pressure. So in the second half, I'm going to let my tight ends run some patterns now, which they didn't do in the first half. Right. And Brian Flores was like, this is exactly what I wanted you to do. You thought I wasn't bringing blitzes. Now in this fourth quarter, halfway through the third quarter, in this fourth quarter, I'm finna dial it up. And now you have no protection. And you didn't make the adjustment to go back and look like, okay, they blitzing again now. So now we got to – so it's Ben Johnson, and although it was his first game as a head coach, and he's learning just like everybody else, he's just got to make better adjustments on how he's going to call games and how he's going to adjust on the fly.
Yeah, that's one of the the adjustments that any coach, when they transition from a play, OC, DC to become the head coach, and this is where sometimes where some of
got a lot of responsibility.
You got a lot of responsibility, and I thought there might have been times where Ben might have been caught up on maybe the breakdown of the play versus what was going on in the game, right? Which kind of like, man, his footwork looked bad, right? And I don't know what he was thinking, but I'm just saying you can see some stuff, but it's like you still got to call the game that's happening in front of you. And I thought, well, like what you said, Jay, when those things happen, I didn't see the adjustment on the offense by the Bears to counter the extra guys coming, right? And so now your quarterback did start getting flushed out the pocket. And now he is kind of reverting back to the move up in the pocket to start running, but then see somebody. And, and he always had this habit in college. He'll bag up, right? He'll go forward, and he'll bag up to try to reset. Those are the plays where you got to say, just go and run. Because once you just step so far up in the front of the pocket, other than the ones where he just run and see somebody, run. Just go and run and get the positive yards. Because when he bags up, that's when it's going to get bad. It's going to get bad in the pocket, right? Because your feet are not set properly, and that backside pursuit is going to catch up with you. I actually ended up watching some more college film of Caleb this week, and it showed the difference of pro players and college players. There were plays where I seen where he threw guys off him in college. Well, you're not throwing the NFL.
That ain't gonna happen in the NFL though.
Right,
that ain't gonna happen in the NFL.
Right, I see when he threw some linebackers in college, right, where they caught him in the backfield, and he just kind of like almost judo flipped them off him and reset and threw a ball. That's not happening in the NFL. They get on you no, it's over. He said Katie bought a dough, Jay.
Right. Katie bought a dough.
Watching the game this week, the worst performance. And again, after rewatching it, I was able to evaluate it. The worst performance of anybody with the Bears was Coach Hightower.
I was just gonna go back to that special teams.
Tyrone Santos. Okay, he did 2 bad kicks and didn't kick the ball out the end zone. But the offensive special teams sucked. Punt block. You had your punter, frustrated many times, as well as coverage sucked. So when you look at that, who was responsible for all of those things? The one coach that we had for continuity. So it's making me at least look and say, maybe we should have got rid of this guy too.
And and people don't realize, giving up 17 yards per punt return, that's flipping the field. That is flipping the field. Whether they get it on your side of the 50 or they just gaining 17 yards, that's flipping the field.
Yeah,
and that's a lot of hidden yardage that allowed them in the fourth quarter to have those short drives to get those touchdown drives that led to the 21-point debacle in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, Jay, because if you look at the way the Bears, when they had those stall drives that they ended up punting more, they really was getting 3 and outs, right? So maybe that was 3 and out from starting for the 20 and you get 3 yards, or you had penalties, you lost yards. So you're punting maybe from your 10 or 15 and you give up 17 yards. So that means the starting field position for that team could be the 40-yard line. Now, also in special teams, what I didn't like was when they score, when your kicker, and I know the people who are kind of sensitive about when because they stuck on the Robbie Gold thing. When you kick off a ball and it doesn't go in the end zone and a person is catching it at the 5 or the 8, and if I'm going to do 17 yards or whatever, if they get a good return from the 5 yards or the 5-yard line, 7-yard line, that means they're starting on between the 30 and the 35. That is horrible. That's horrible because now your defense, if we got they had a field goal that was 59 or 60 yards.
Yeah.
So that means a lot of teams now, if you do that kind of field position, what do they need? 2 first downs?
That's standard now. That's standard in the NFL. That's why, Cairo Santos, I said it 2 years ago that the Bears need to be looking for a kicker because, 50 yards in a 50-yard field goal in the NFL now, that's standard.
Right.
And that used to be like, oh my God, he kicked a 50 yard. No. 50 yards right now is standard. You got guys kicking 55, 57, almost 60 consistently. But
That
when you got
preseason
when you don't have
70.
he kicked the 70 with room to spare. With
Right.
room to spare. So, and when and Bernard said it in one of our text chains, when you can't trust your kicker, it's a problem. Because now
Mm.
you're looking at it like, okay, we got the ball on the 41-yard line and it's 4th and 3. So now we're looking at a 51, 50,
Uh-oh.
maybe 55 a field goal. I might as well just go for it because I don't trust my kicker.
Mhm.
And at this point right now in the NFL, if your kicker can't kick standard 50 yards, it's a problem.
You know what? I think one of the things we've overlooked is this is a kicker that's been our kicker for a number of years, but Brian Poles extended him 4 years.
Yes, he did. Yes, he
So
did.
Yes.
you extended a
Yes, he
kicker
did.
for another 4 years that can't do minimum kicker things.
Which is why when they signed the kid today, I was like, okay. And I saw the headline, he's like signed to the practice squad. I'm like, how is this gonna work out? Because Foles did extend this guy.
Yeah.
So how is this gonna work? So it's gonna be what's the kid name? Jake Moody?
Jake Moody. Jake
Yeah, so
Mooney.
it's gonna be
Moody.
interesting. It's gonna be interesting to see how this is gonna play out. I know the kid does have a strong leg,
They
but
wasted a third round
he was
draft pick.
drafted in the 3rd round. So he has a strong leg, but he hasn't been accurate over the last couple of, well, at least I ain't gonna say a couple of seasons. Last year, he wasn't
Yes.
very accurate. And then in week one, that's the thing about John Lynch and the 49ers, who I love as an organization. They like, okay, nope, nope,
Say, we're
no,
not gonna do this.
no,
Right.
we ain't gonna do this. we gonna figure this out week one. After week one, we're gonna figure this out. So so it's gonna be interesting to see how that plays out with the contract extension that Poles gave Santos and him signing his kicker to the practice squad. Because one thing I can say, outside of his accuracy, I know he's able to kick the ball at the end zone. I can't say that.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm assuming they signed him on the practice squad because they wanted to give him a extended look without him being called by another
Without
team.
him being called by another team.
Yeah, I'm assuming that's what it was. Because other than on the surface, it'd be like, why you got a kicker taking up a spot on the practice squad, right? But basically, you're giving him a long extended look. Of course, he's not nothing this week, but it makes sense, man, because this is the beginning of the season. This is the best weather you're going to be kicking in Chicago, right?
And you have to find out, what you got. You got to find out what you got before it get too far in the season.
What's happening is he's getting a lot of credit for the kicks he doesn't take. So if we're at 55, we're outside his range. So they don't even try to stretch him and get him out there. They're like, oh, he's really accurate. No, you're supposed to be trying to hit it.
You're supposed to be trying to get these 3 points. We need these 3 points. So we'll see how that's going to work out. But overall,
block kicks last year, it was blocked by the Vikings. Then the next week it was blocked by the Packers. Again, I don't know if we're talking Hightower or if we're talking Santos.
Yeah.
But there's definitely a problem with the kicking game.
Last year in the Detroit game, it was questionable. Were we in field goal range when we had the debacle with the time? That was a Detroit game with Thanksgiving, right? Mm-hmm. But I definitely know that they was right on the cusp of his range, because I want to say it was around on 35-yard line, which realistically, if they felt comfortable if that was his range, you'd have been running more. That the other play would have been to just center the ball, let the time run out, and kick the play. But because you wasn't comfortable with him kicking like a 52 or 53 yarder, you're trying to run another play, which, now this got to be the revenge makeup game for them, because Detroit was where your coach ended up getting fired for Thanksgiving when you disallowed the time to run out. So there's some players that maybe want to go back and redeem themselves from that game.
Yeah.
That's like the DB. You only want him to play within the red zone because, he's real good there. But if he's anywhere else, he's going to get burnt. I'm like, I'll beat him out there then.
So as far as offensively, what do the Bears need to do to win this game? What you got, Plank?
I think we got to actually use both of our tight ends. They were definitely underutilized, especially from everything that we talked about in the preseason and this 12 personnel and drafting a tight end number 10. That's a really high draft choice. If you got them, you're going to have to use them. So I think we're going to have to, implement more of that tight end uses for Komet and Colston. Also, we have to stick to the run. I mean, it's pretty ridiculous. And as I said in the post game, that the running game is a quarterback's best friend. So, we need to keep.
And so is a tight end. And so is a tight end.
And if we got two of them, guess what? That just makes it that much better. So
right.
I'd like to see us trying to commit a little bit more to the run. I'd like to see at least 25 runs out of this game. So that lets me know if we're doing that, we're controlling the tempo. Even if we're not, getting 4 yards to carry, you have to keep committing, and you can get, and that can actually be a tool to let the linemen get some establish some timing, because they haven't played together in a real game up to this point. So, let's give them more kicks at the cat. And I think all of our offensive linemen are pretty decent run blockers, with the exception of Dahlman, probably.
Yeah, I'm just looking for more consistent play from the offense. From the offensive line. Because if we get consistent play from the offensive line, I think the way Ben Johnson can call a game, it will dictate what we're able to do in the passing game. So if we could establish consistency with the run game on the offensive line, I think it just opens up for everything. It opens up for the 12 personnel. It opens up for the play action pass. And then once the play action pass open up and we got a running game going, then you can go 13 personnel where you can put Luther Burden or Oz out there in the slot and see what we can get. So I think consistency from the offensive line is going to be a key to this game, because Aiden Hutchinson is back. He's getting his feet wet. He was able to do a little bit last week. It looked like he was kind of winded. He's still kind of getting his feet under him. But if we can just have some consistency from the offensive line, I think that would be a key to a victory. Although I'm not really predicting one, but I'll wait for the predictions.
Yeah,
I much games on the second week.
Right, I totally get your point, Jay. I would say the Bears do have to start with the run game. The Bears offense actually was in the dead last in the first week as far as run productivity. So you got to start there, right? Because your running back, I believe, had 53 yards rushing, and he didn't got a lot of carries either, but he averaged 3.1 yards per carry. Look, if you grind it out, and even if a team's stopping you and you're only getting 3 something, but you're up to 25, 26 in a game you winning, that could be a difference in the game. But if you're not really running, your play action, they did a lot of play action that it was meaningless because they had not ran a lot. But
right.
also,
right,
I thought there was a lack of use. Luther Burden, I don't even remember him even really being on offense at all
in one play, and it was a special teams play.
Yeah,
and he almost ran into the house then. So
he was out there. But he just wasn't a factor. He was out there, but he wasn't. He just wasn't a factor. And the bottom line is, everybody who watched Ben Johnson over the last few years, his offense was productive when his running game, when he had what was they called, knuckles and whatever, when he got that 1-2 punch, his offense, Sonic and Knuckles, when their offense was on the grind and the running game was turning, I mean, they were scoring 30, 33, 35 points a game.
Yeah.
But his offense has to have that running game in order to be successful, which goes back to why we didn't look at the running game before the season,
Well, and you got Jared Goff is I think he had 4.5 yards per throw. That's not what Ben Johnson's offense was doing for him. He was actually making a lot of downfield throws where you gave your offensive your receivers an opportunity for yak, and you took advantage of St. Brown and things like that. So
But how many times did we see Jameis Williamson running down the field wide open after they just consistently ran the ball, ran the
I
football,
don't
and
remember
then
none.
next thing you know, you look up and Williamson is running down the field by himself, and you're like, oh my God, this dude is wide open. So his offense is predicated on running the football
Yep.
and being successful.
Yep, the Bears did something in the first preseason game. Who was that against? Miami. Was it Miami?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
It
first
was
game.
Miami.
That weak squad, but go ahead.
Yeah, but the
Whole
point
nother
I
story.
was gonna get to was the first play of the game. They took a snap and they rolled Caleb out immediately and threw a pass right where he's on the run. I can't remember. I think it was to Colston. It might have been to Colston or one of
No,
them.
that was
Right.
against the Bills. That was against the Bills in the second game because he didn't
Oh,
play in
okay.
that.
The
He
second
didn't play
game.
in that first game. Yeah, that was
Oh,
against
yes,
the
the
Bills.
second game. I'm sorry, it was
Yeah,
the second game.
that was
But
against the Bills.
okay, he came out right away and he established a play to the tight end and moving the quarterback, which gave him something to think about. What they did in this game was they came out, they dropped back, they ended up taking a check down. They really didn't highlight anybody. Then they maybe did something, then they threw another one, then they threw a check down, right? But it was really no like get this guy going and
No
let this
fluid.
guy kind of know
It
nothing
wasn't
fluid.
fluid. It wasn't
Yeah,
fluid.
yeah. And you didn't make look, I would have liked to see a few design runs because Caleb was actually getting so many yards when he ran. And you don't want him to be a runner, but if they're giving him that, sometimes
You
you
have to
just got to call a few of
take
those plays.
take what the
Because you
defense
think
give
about
you.
the one play where he took off and scored, that was just open, right? He could score early if he had wanted to just take off and run. But that if you think about that's one of the things that they flipped on the Bears offensively in the fourth quarter. They let JJ take off on some plays. And
Yep.
the Bears were not ready for him to take off and run. They actually had a couple of design runs. And I think right around their last score, next to the last score, JJ took off. I think he was like a zone read play. He pulled it out, kept it, scooted up for about, I think he got about to the 2 or 3 yard line, gained about 15, 20 yards, whatever it was on that play. So I'm looking for him to kind of get out of his own way, coach a quarterback when he get on the sideline through your off, not through your pass coordinator, whoever does it, the quarterback coach, right? Make sure you're coaching your quarterback on the sideline, positive or negative, coach him. Because Caleb seems to be at times he's probably getting a little down on himself when there's something not going on. And you may have to do little stuff, man, that it may seem, this is the coach of me, right? For coaching. Hey, you may have to sometime like get him into like, hey, start taking snaps with the center, right? Or something where he's kind of like, keeping him engaged and, where he's just kind of doing a little warm up. As long as you sit on that bench and you like this here, it'll like sometimes he had a tendency to go, right. And you don't really want that going on.
He's got some horrible body language. And a lot of times, that's one of those things that your mentality ends up affecting the way that you play on the field. When you starting to, when you miss a pass, you immediately say, "Oh man, I missed that dog," and you starting to overthink that as opposed to, "Oh man, he was wide open. Let's run that play back."
And I think a lot of times that do happen with Caleb. I think when he miss open reads and he'd be like, "Oh man, I should have had that." And then when he go to the sideline and you see him, even if he's scrolling on the iPad, he's still looking, and you can see him shaking his head like, "I can't believe I missed that. I can't believe I missed that." Which is why I'm glad, they got a veteran guy like Case Keenum who can hopefully kind of like mentor that out of him. Because again, people don't understand quarterback is the hardest position to play in sports. I don't care what sport it is. I don't care if it's baseball, football, hockey, soccer. I don't care. Quarterback is the hardest position to play in sports. And if you lose it mentally, you're going to lose it physically. So you have to stay engaged, as you said, but now you got to stay engaged.
You
And,
think
and
that's harder than the position in
yeah,
cross?
yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah,
gonna
yeah. Whatever you gonna say, whatever you gonna say, yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
And you know what? Somebody, I was talking to somebody earlier this week, and they brought up Caleb, and I thought they brought up a great point. And this is not negative or positive, but it was like Caleb has actually been the guy that know what he wanted to do his whole life. Early on, I want to be an NFL quarterback. Caleb been the guy that probably did all the stuff right. You know, even though he struggled sometimes with the all of us do that, right. But other than that, Caleb has been the guy. He got his own apartment as a high schooler. He didn't really stay away from all the other stuff. He prepped for the right thing to say, and he picked the coaches that he wanted to play for in college. So he won the Heisman like he wanted to. Now, of course, he was disappointed he never got to the national championship, but a lot of things went his way, his career, and he seemed prepared for it. He ended up being number one like he
He
probably
wanted to
dreamed.
be the number one pick in the draft.
The pro-
All of
yeah,
that
the
worked out
problem
for
in
him.
that with that mentally is like a kid who always been an A student, and when they get to college and they get their first C, they could be devastated because all the times in their life they've always had A's, but now they get to C. Now for the students who are C students, they're like, man, what you tripping on? That's just a C. I
Why
get
you got
C's all
to
the
mention
time.
calculus all over, man? You know that's a tough spot with me. Why you got to talk about calculus again?
Hey, it's so funny you mentioned that. It's so funny that you mentioned that because my youngest daughter Jordan, and this is totally not Bears related, but my youngest daughter Jordan, she got she had A's in her entire career, kindergarten through 8th grade. Her junior year, she got a B, and she came home and she was like, "What is this?" She looked at that like, "What is this? I don't even know what this is." But to to piggyback on what you were saying is that's how those kids are. That's
Mhm.
how when you have that mentality, like I'm the best at everything, and then you see something that you don't recognize, you be like, wait a minute, this ain't they
It freaks
it can mentally affect them.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
had to really be like, hey, okay, calm down. It's okay. It's okay. But when these kids groom themselves like this, and the way Caleb came up, like you said, with his own apartment in high school and all this stuff, and he wanted to be a Heisman Trophy winner. He groomed himself to be a number one pick in the draft. You know, things like this can mentally affect him.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
So
he needs a coach and some mentoring that can actually help him understand that there's going to be some bumps in the road. You
Well,
know,
because to that point, he's been the guy that's always been I don't let external things affect me or whatever until you do. And
correct.
when you do, you need to be comfortable enough to say it's okay.
Yeah.
because when the first time you say that I don't let external things affect me, it affected you because that's what you said.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's
That's what
okay.
you said. And it's okay. We all human. It's okay.
Right. Robert Hicks. Hey, shout out to Robert Hicks. I want to make a comment on a post that he made. He wanted the Bears Banter Talk Show group members on Facebook, and he had showed the video where Caleb was talking about he wasn't going to make certain mistakes again. And my comment was, I said, I hate to hear when young QBs say they're not going to make that mistake again, because they are going to make that mistake again. They're going to make
Yes,
that
they
mistake
are.
again their whole career. You
All
may
right.
throw 3 interceptions your rookie year and swear you ain't going to never happen. You'll be a 12-year veteran, and one game you're going to throw 3 interceptions, right? But it might just, it's going to happen, right? But what you don't want to do is make a living in it. And I know earlier when Jay and Plank mentioned about the footwork, that's the part I wanted to add, that we know in sports, a large part of it is mental in sports. So the mechanics are getting off, not because he doesn't know the mechanics, is because, like what Plank said, part of his muscle memory. Part of it is the mental of somebody might be about to hit me, so let me get it out of my hand. So that's the mental part that he has to be able to let go of play, let go of bad pass, and realize I can make these throws. I made these throws all my life. I just okay. I sailed it over to him. Hey, my fault. I sailed it. Hey, I make it up the next play.
Yeah, one of the things I'm not seeing from Caleb up to this point, and I'm looking for this, is for him to give up on the play and know that play is not going to make it and just throw it in the stands or something. What he still does is when the play breaks down, he's trying to let me go to my athletic ability and overcome the play. And sometimes you just got to say, hey, next play is all we got to count towards, and let's go forward with that. So. Okay. Oh, also, before we go, I wanted to take a minute to congratulate our fellow Bears Banner announcer, Dr. Mike Quick Alden. This week they had an article on the brother in the Chicago Sun-Times that talked about his perseverance. He's been, I don't know if everybody knew this or not, but he's gone through a couple of bouts with cancer. And, I know it's not an easy thing. And in the midst of that, he still kept up his job refereeing, doing some of the things that he loves so he can establish some continuity. So I think that was really great for him to get that article. And they had a nice picture of him out there, too. So,
and it was in color. Boy,
right?
You have arrived. When you got color in the newspaper, you have arrived.
So when our friends and our brothers and our Bears Banner mates are here, we're gonna give them a hard time because that's just who we are. But we always support each other and we always here for each other. I wanted to make sure everybody knows that.
And just as that fan just said, I couldn't see the name, but we all want a franchise quarterback too. It's not too much to ask for. It's not too much to ask for because the bottom line is you cannot win a Super Bowl if you don't have a franchise quarterback. So that's all we want the same thing.
Not 32 of them running around.
Right. We want the same thing.
Yeah. Right. Hey, before we get to the scores, Jay, I do want to point this out, and I know every time I've said this week on Facebook, some people kind of get, they kind of get upset because I'm saying this because they think I'm doing a comparison, but I'm trying to show where there is hope. I keep pointing out that Josh Allen's rookie year, he was completing, I think it was 50%, 56% of his passes his rookie year. I know they won games that year, but it wasn't because of Josh Allen. They didn't win because of Josh Allen. He was only completing 56% of his passes. His sophomore year, he completed 58% of his passes. The chant for bust was real loud. Matter of fact, his rookie year, people had started saying, man, they shouldn't even have got rid of Tyrod Taylor. People was actually getting mad. Think about it. So it was always the guy that was gone, but his third year, it opened up for him. The change they made and all that, he went up to 69%. So that's a guy that was totally inaccurate that went from 56, 58 to his third year to about 69% completion. It happens in the NFL. Pressure does make a difference. You watched that game last night with Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels completed 58% of, I know he had drop passes and all that, but that pressure that came from the Packers, he was overthrowing guys, he was missing guys, he was getting beat up. You seen the difference of when your quarterback is under siege.
And we just have to realize, fans gonna be fans.
Yeah.
We take this seriously as we break it down week to week. We take this serious and go dive a little deep into the numbers. You got fans where they just like, I'm looking for a franchise quarterback, and this guy ain't it. The Bears can't do this. The Bears can't do that. Well, and that's always been my thing. This guy sucked. This quarterback sucked. Well, why do we suck? Did this offense what did the offensive line do on this particular play to make this play break down for you to say that this quarterback is not good? So I get it. Fans. I get it. Trust me. Y'all don't know my frustration. I've been going to Soldier Field since I was 15 years old. I'm 56 years old. I'm in this, and I understand. Nobody understands y'all frustrations as much as I do. But at the same time, I understand the intricacies of the game. And with that said, we're looking for a victory this week. And Bernard, I'm going to go to you first. And
Okay.
What's your prediction?
Man, Jay, I'm so tempted to go for my original prediction of when I projected that the Bears was going to go 9-8 this season. I had them losing this game because I also thought they was going to win the first game. With that said, I'm going to still stay with my original prediction that Detroit is going to come out on top in a very hard-fought game. Detroit 18, the Bears 15.
Okay. Well, I know Detroit is playing this game, and I think they're going to be missing their top linebacker, Campbell. I know he's been on IR having some issues this week. So he's a very big guy in their run-stopping game. I see the Bears winning because, I'm looking at Ben Johnson, and he is ridiculously confident. He's like, I can't wait. Of course we're going to win. So I'm picking the Bears to win 25-15.
And Bernard, I want to piggyback off of what you said. I predicted this game as a loss at the beginning of the season when the schedule came out because I thought that we were going to win against Minnesota, which would have put my the Bears at 1-1.
Mm-hmm.
But as bad as Detroit played last week, and as bad as the Bears played last week, by Detroit being at home, Ben Johnson coming back, as much as I want to pick the home team, I can't do it. And I think the Bears fall 21-17.
Y'all gonna be hearing me on the chats during the game, hollering and screaming.
I'll be looking forward to it.
I might have to actually record my voice and holler and scream on there, and then send that to you.
So. For those who are new to Bears Banter Talk Show, make sure you hit the subscribe button. We definitely are Bears fans, so you can see we're not homers where we just gonna pick the Bears. 100% of the times, right? We're gonna stick with our particular analysis and pick whoever we think, man. And I hope to be wrong, right? Because I'd rather start
off. I hope to be wrong. Right. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong too. But we'll see what happens.
Hey, we got to start this competition again because it's been a couple years since we tried to pick the best. And it was always me, but we're gonna go for it anyway.
you was always picking the Bears to win 2-0.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll put that on there because I know what we said. All us said in the first week, so I just got to get Quicks and Christian's picks. I think everybody had the Bears first week, so yeah, so we could keep that up. I know I didn't even put it in the group this year. I think I just put the overall record. What your pick is for the record. But man, I'm excited about this season. I know we're gonna have some up and downs, and I'm all those out there. I want y'all to share this podcast with your friends. I mean, it's one of the best podcasts out there. To me, it is. We keep it real. We keep it 100. So, man, we're looking for more people to join it.
And next week we got to go back to which we didn't do last year. We got to go back to our pick of the week. Because it's some good games. It's some good games. It's some good games this week. Like last week. Last week was the first time in the NFL opening week where they had 8 division games scheduled. And that was good. That was good. So we're gonna have to go back to that too. So I'm looking forward to the season. It's week 2. I'm looking forward to the season. The schedule is it's a really good schedule for the Bears and for the NFC North as a whole. Which is why, I told people, I don't think it's going to be one team, and I can be proven wrong just because Green Bay has started off 2-0. But I said it wasn't going to be one team that win more than 10 games in this division. So, because the schedules are just crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. We need to bring back 2 for 2, Jay.
2 for 2. We got to bring back 2 for 2. So next week, Bears Better Talk Show. We gonna be back on track because I forgot about 2 for 2 as well.
You got anything else before we close out for the night?
Nope.
Bet down. Let's go.
Bet down. Let's go.
Let's go. Hey, until next time. Peace.